Hey everybody. Okay, we're back with video number 2. This is Module 6, Lesson 6, Grade 5 Problem Sets. All right, let's get started. I hope you have your pen and your paper or whatever Oh my goodness. I'm trying to record. Sorry everybody. Oh, wow. All right, we're on problem set. So if you didn't get a chance to watch the lesson video starter, go back, watch video 1. This is video 2. I hope I can get it all done in this one video, the second video, so I don't have to make a third video. All right, let's read the directions. The first part says plot the following points and label them on the coordinate plane. We've been doing this for a while, you all. They still have us in this stage, and I don't mind because the more you practice, the better you get, okay? So if you think that you are moving toward expertville here, pause the video, go ahead and plot your coordinates. If you think you need a little more help, then follow with Ms. Durham, okay? If you don't have access to the pages, I want you to go ahead and draw your quadrant here, taking notes of how many spaces are in between, okay? So pause it here, draw your quadrant, and then come back and we'll have a discussion. All right. Okay, I'm glad you're back. All right. So let's continue here and analyze our number lines. Analyze our axes. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and label our axes. This is the x-axis. We know that's always the x. And this one is the y-axis, right? And you know here is the origin, okay, or starting point, or 0. Now, how many spaces are in between 0 and our first number, which is 5/10, okay? So let's count and see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. So that means each one of those is worth 1/10, right? So the first one is too small. I can't write it in, you all, but on your paper, you probably will be able to. The first one is 1/10. This would be 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, and you see here we have 5/10. What would the next tick mark value would be? 6/10, good. 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, and 10/10, you know, equals 1. Anytime you have the numerator, same with the denominator, or you can look at it as 10/10, you have to move the number over to the next place value because you can't put 10 numbers in one place value or double digits. Okay. All right, let's begin. They want us to plot A. So Ms. Durham is here. Okay. A, remember that x goes first. So the first coordinate is always x. The second one is always y in your coordinate pairs. So the first one is 3/10 on the x-axis. Okay. Remember we counted 1/10, 2/10, 3/10. 3/10 is here. And the second number on the y-axis is 1/10. So that means that we go up to 1/10. And our coordinate is there. Ms. Durham will mark it on our tiny little grid here. Here we go. And we'll label that particular mark A. Okay. Now let's move on. Let's go to the next one. B. Here for x-axis we have 3/10. And for the y-axis we have 7/10. So I'll go ahead and go to 3/10 on the x-axis, which is the same as A. Okay. 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, and 7/10 on the y-axis. So that's 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10. So 7/10 is there. Ms. Durham's going to go ahead and mark it. I'm trying to mark it because it's so small here. Okay, I hope I got it there. And we'll label this one coordinate B, right? Let's move on to C. And I think I'm going to change colors here. Okay, no, I'll stay with black. Okay, so here we have 2/10 for the x-axis and 9/10 for the y-axis. So I'll go over to 2/10, 1/10, 2/10, and then I have to go up to 9/10 on the y-axis. So here's 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10 belongs there. And I'll go ahead and mark it. You all can mark it on your paper. Pause the video as much as you need to, you all. I may be going a little bit faster than you're going at this particular time. I'm going a little bit fast because the videos are taking such a long time to download. So I'm trying to cut down on the time. We'll label this coordinate pair C. The last one I have here is D, 4/10 and 9/10. So let's move over to 4/10 on our number line on the x-axis, good. And then we move up to 9/10. Here is 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10 is there. Okay, Ms. Durham will mark it on our quadrant. And we'll label that particular coordinate pair D. Okay? All right, let's move on. A says use a straight edge to construct a line segment AB and CD. Okay, so I'll use two different colors. And let's use what looks like a crayon here. All right, line CD will be constructed here. Okay? And then line, let's get another color, AB would be constructed here. Can you all see that? I hope so. Okay? And they want us to label each one. This is line AB. And if you see that line segment above that, that lets you know that this is a line. That's that math language and the symbols that we use in math. Okay? The same thing for line CD. If I were to label it line CD, I would have C, and then I would put a line segment over the top. Okay? That lets the mathematician know, or the student know, or the teacher know, or anybody who's looking at the problem that that is a line on the coordinate grid. Okay? All right, let's get going. Okay, we've completed A. Let's go to B. Line segment blank is parallel, and I'm here, you all. Line segment blank is parallel to the x-axis and perpendicular to the y-axis. Let's remember what those words mean. Parallel. Remember the clue. Parallel, those two L's, and they can go in any direction. They can go this way. They can go that way. They can go this way. As long as you have those two lines moving in the same direction. And then perpendicular means they kind of cross each other like that. Okay? So it says line segment blank is parallel to the x-axis. Here is our x-axis. So I need another line. I need another line that runs the same direction as the x-axis. Would it be line segment AB? Or would it be line segment CD that's parallel to the x-axis? Very good. So the x-axis runs this way. Line segment CD runs that way. So line segment CD is parallel to the x-axis. And I'll write it in. Very good. Okay. Now it says and perpendicular to the y-axis. So perpendicular to the y-axis would be here. Okay. The two cross each other. So we do have the correct line. Okay. All right, buddies. CD, they cross is perpendicular to the y-axis. Let's go to C. Line segment blank is parallel to the y-axis and perpendicular to the x-axis. Remember what parallel means. Okay, here are parallel examples here. This time they want to know parallel to the y-axis. So here's our y-axis. We need another line that runs this way, just like the y-axis. Would that be line segment AB? Or would that be line segment CD? All right, I hope you said line segment AB. It runs parallel to the y-axis. So let me start write it in. Okay. Now, perpendicular to the x-axis. So is AB, line segment AB, is that perpendicular, which means this, they cross each other there, to the x-axis? And I believe so, because if you take line segment AB and the x-axis, they both cross each other in that way. So they are perpendicular. Say perpendicular. Perpendicular. Okay? It means that they cross this way. All right? Two line segments that cross each other. Okay? Now let's look at D. Plot a point on line segment AB that is not at the endpoints and name it U. Okay, so I have to go to line segment AB, and it didn't tell us where. It just says not at the endpoints. So don't go to the endpoints. Don't go down to 0. Don't go all the way up here. Okay, and we'll name it U. So I'll go here. Miss Durham wants to plot hers. Let's use red. I'll plot here as long as it's on sits on line segment AB here. And they want us to name this particular plot or point U. Okay. Now they want us to provide them with the coordinates for U. Okay. So let's look and see if we can gather our coordinates. On the x-axis, U sits on the 1/10, 2/10. It looks like U sits on 3/10. So I'll go ahead and write in 3/10. I can do 0.3, or I can do 0.3, or we can write in fractions 3/10. Okay. Now let's look and see where U sits on the y-axis, right? Which is here. 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10. So for the y coordinate, U would sit 4/10. So I can do 0.4 or 0.4, or in fraction form, you would see 4/10. Good job for us. Okay, E, plot a point on the line segment CD and name it V. So here is our line segment CD. We can plot it anywhere. It didn't even say don't go to the endpoint, so we have wiggle room there. Okay, I'll color this one red as well. I think I'm going to plot here. And it says for us to name it V. Okay, point V. Now we have to provide the coordinates for point V. Okay, so on the x-axis, point V sits on the, let's see, here, which is 1.0. So we can just put 1. And then on the y-axis, point V sits here, which is 9/10. So I can put 9/10, which would be 0.9 or 0.9. It's up to you. Or we can have a fraction 9/10. Good job for us. All right, we're finished with page 1. Let's move on, you all. I feel like the video is getting a little longer, but I'm going to keep going as much as I can. And hopefully I won't have to make a third video here. Okay. All right, number 2. It says construct line F such that the y coordinate of every point is 3.5. And construct line G such that the x coordinate of every point is 4.5. So we were doing something similar to this yesterday in lesson 5. Okay. So I'm going to write coordinates down here at the bottom so that we have an idea about our plots and our coordinates. So here, line F, we're going to get a few coordinates for line F to construct the line. Okay, so the first coordinate, first thing they tell us that all of the y coordinates have to be 3.5, and we know y is on the right side. So that's 3.5 here, 3.5 here, 3.5 here. Now we have wiggle room to create our own x coordinates, but they have to be in a line. Okay, so I'm kind of going to go in order, right? Even if we start with an x coordinate of 2, I want to go ahead and go from 2 to, I can go to 4, or I can go 2, 3, 5, 3. Let me make it a little bit neater. Okay, 3, and then here I'll do 4. So for line segment F, we have the first coordinate, which would be coordinate pair, which would be 2, 3.5. The second coordinate pair, 3, 3.5. And the third coordinate pair would be 4, 3.5. Now let's go ahead and create points for line G. Okay. Oh, Ms. Dorn will write it. Here we have line G, line segment G. We're going to have the first pair of coordinates, the second pair of coordinates, the third pair of coordinates. Okay. Now they give us a rule here. Those particular coordinates on the x-axis, all of them have to have the point 4.5. So I'll go ahead and fill that in on the x-axis. Okay. Let's do yellow. 4.5 here. 4.5 here. 4.5 here. Okay. All right, so we can kind of create our own points on the y-axis for this particular pair. So we want it to be a straight line, so let's kind of go in order. Why don't we start at 1? Let's go up to 3, and this one can be 5. You don't have to do in order as far as 1, 2, 3, but you do want it to become a straight line. So I skipped every other number. So I use odd numbers, 1, 3, and 5. Okay. All right, let's plot. Now, if you think you're great at plotting, pause the video, go ahead and plot. Okay, if you need help, Ms. Dorman's still here. I'll plot with us. Okay, so let's go to F. The first coordinate is 2, 3.5. That means 2 on the x-axis, 3.5. We need to move up to 3.5 on the y-axis. So we know 3 1/2 would be between 4 and 3. Okay, so I'll go ahead and put the plot. So 2 on the x, 3.5 on the y-axis. All right. The next one, 3 and 3.5. X is always first. Y becomes second. X is always first. X first, Y. X first, Y. It's like that forever. All the math that you'll ever do, when you get these coordinate points, X is first, Y is second. Okay. So 3 for X, and then we have 3.5 for Y. I'm here, everybody. Okay, so let me move over to 3 on my x-axis. And for those of us who haven't been watching the video, this is always the x-axis. This is always the y-axis. I'm going to move over to 3 on the x-axis and then 3.5 on the y-axis, which is there. Okay, so Ms. Durham will put her dot here, and you all can do the same. The next one, we have a 4 and 3.5 coordinate pair. So that's 4 on the x-axis, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3.5 on the y-axis, which is there. And I'll go ahead and put the points. And they want us to construct a line and label that line segment F. So I'll go ahead and do that. And we'll label this F. Okay, now we have to move on to G. The first coordinate pair for G is 4.5 and 1. So we'll move down to 4 and then up to 1 on the y-axis. Okay, and Ms. Storm's going to put that point there. The next one is 4.5 and 3, which is here. I'll move down to 4. And then I have to move up to the 3, the value of 3 on the y-axis. Okay, I'll put that point there. The next one, okay, 4.5 and 5. So we're going to start on 4.5, and then we'll move up to 5 on the y-axis, which would be here. And Ms. Norm will mark it on our quadrant. Okie dokie. And they want us to construct a line. And I'll color this one yellow. And they want us to label the line segment G. Okay. All right, we can move on. We did it. All right, let's move on, buddies. Okay. I think we're on E. No, let's go here to D. Line G is blank units from the y-axis. Oh, no, I didn't do C. So let's go back to C, you all. Excuse me. With a blue pencil, shade in the portion of the grid that is less than 3.5 units from the x-axis. And some of you are going to get confused, so I want to explain this. It says from the x-axis, not on the x-axis, not at the x-axis, from the x-axis. So we want to go to our x-axis, which is here, but we're moving away from the x-axis. So you can kind of look at it as we're going to the 3.5 on the y-axis, right? Okay, so we're moving 3.5 from the x-axis, which means I have to start at the x-axis, which is here, and move away from it. We're moving up away from the x-axis. So it's almost as if we were going up to 3.5 on the y-axis, which is there. Now, if they told us to move 3.5 from the y-axis, which is here, I have to move away from the y-axis. I would be moving this way, almost as if I'm plotting on the x-axis lines. Okay. All right. So this one says 3.5 from the x-axis and shade everything blue. I'm gonna try to get a lighter crayon here. I hope this works. Let me see if I can get a lighter blue color. So that way we can still see what we have and what we put. Let's do that. Okay. So 3.5 from the x-axis will put me about here. And they want me to shade in there all of that blue. I'm using the iPad, so it's not the neatest, but it's okay. You all just do the best that you can do. All right, now let's move on. We did that. Now it says line G, blank units from the y-axis. So line G is how many units from the y-axis. Remember, this is y, and they're asking us from the y-axis, we move this way. So G is 1, 2, 3, 4 units from the y-axis. So I'll go ahead and input 4. Okay. Now let's move on. E, give the coordinates of the point on line G that is 5 units from the x-axis. So here's line G. Now 5 units from the x-axis means 5 units. Here's x, means 5 units up, which is there. So the coordinates here for this particular point would be 4 on the y-axis, 5 on the x-axis. So this would be 4, 5. All right, last one. With a red pencil, shade the portion of the grid that is more than 4.5 units from the y-axis. So if I'm moving from the y, I'm moving this way. That's almost like saying 4.5 on the x. So 4.5 would be here. They want us to, with a red pencil, shade the portion of the grid that is more than 4.5. So I'm going to go to 4.5 from the y, which is here. And everything more than that, I have to shade with a red pencil. So let me grab a red. And then I want to do a lighter. Here we go. A lighter red so that we can still see after we shade in. So hopefully that works. So I'm going to go to 4.5. Okay, here we go. And shade everything after that. Okay. All right, we're finished with this particular page, you all. Let's move on. I want to check the time. Okay, page 3 for the problem set. Okay, number 3 says, complete the following task on the plane below. All right, all my experts, pause it here. Read the directions and send me a screenshot or a paper, whatever you use to do your math assignments. Give me a screenshot and see if you can go ahead and do this on your own. By now, because we're like 6 lessons in on this particular topic. Remember, we had lessons before that. Before we even got into the Engaged New York, we had lessons on coordinate planes. So by now, you should be kind of, sort of, becoming an expert and moving to the point where you can do these things on your own. So go ahead and pause it and see if you can get it done. If not, that's okay. Keep going. Keep practicing, and Ms. Dorm is here. We'll work together. 3A, it says construct a line M that is perpendicular to the x-axis. Perpendicular to the x-axis. Perpendicular means what? Which one is perpendicular? Is it that? Or is it this way? Good. I hope you said this way. That is a perpendicular line segment or example. Okay, and I'll draw one again. All right, so here, construct a line M that is perpendicular to the x-axis, which means it crosses the x-axis, and 3.2 units from the y-axis. So let's go. 3 2/10 units from the y-axis. Now I want to go ahead and label my x-axis, and then you know this one is the y-axis. The long one has the long extending arm from the y. Okay, we're moving to 3.2 from the y-axis. So this is the y-axis. I'm moving 3.2 from it, away from it, away from it. So here is 3. This may be 3 point. Let me see. I have 3, and then 4 is the next whole number. So each one of here would be a fraction. So this looks like this would be 3.2, 3.4, 3.6, 3.8. And so each one is worth 0.2. So 3.2 would be here. So I know I need a line that extends 3.2 from the y-axis. That's here. So let Ms. Dorm grab a color. Okay? Blue. Blue. And I'll try to construct a line. And I'll try to explain it one more time. 3.2 from the y-axis is just like going 3.2 on the x-axis because we're moving away from the y-axis. Every line on this coordinate grid that runs this way is considered to be a y-axis line. Every line that runs this way is considered to be an x-axis line. We're moving 3.2 away from the y-axis, okay? Which means that we're still constructing a line that's parallel to y, but it's plotted on the number for the x-axis, okay? All right, where are we at on C? No, B. Construct a line A that is 0.8, 8/10 unit from the x-axis. 0.8 or 8/10 unit from the x-axis. This is our x-axis, and I need to go 0.8 units away from it, which would be 0.8 on the y. We know that each one of these tick marks is worth 0.2, so this is 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, and then this one is 0.8. So I have to construct a line that is 0.8 away from the x-axis. So let me grab a different color. And you all do the same on your papers. And I'll construct that line straight across. Okay, and they didn't give us a name for those lines, so maybe we'll use them in a little bit. Let's look at C. Construct a line that looks like a T that is parallel to line M. Oh, they gave us a name for line for the red line earlier. This will be line M. All right, so construct a line T that is parallel to line M and is halfway between line M and the y-axis. Oh my goodness. What would be halfway? Let me grab this tool. Halfway between line M, okay, and the y-axis. They should have said line. Hold on, did we? Let me go back, you all. Make sure I didn't make any mistakes here. We constructed line M. It was perpendicular to X. No, line M. This is line M then. Okay, let me erase. Oh, I'm so glad I called it. Very good for us. Very good. This is line M. Very good because this line, line M, would be perpendicular to X because they cross here. Okay? All right, let's go back. Now we can go ahead and move on to the next one. So we have to construct, we're on C, we have to construct a line T that is parallel to line M and is halfway between line M and the y-axis. So we have all the space to work with, okay? They want a line that's parallel to M. Here's our line segment M. We need a line that's parallel to that, parallel, but halfway between the y-axis